And our role ultimately is apex predators. Our role is to keep the herds, the giant herds on the plains of Africa, tightly bunched, quickly moving, so that they don't destroy the grass.
Hey, this is Ryan of Happy, Healthy, Vegan. So stop what you're doing, all vegan, just stop now. Make sure you watch this video because this could be the most important video I've ever made. I could be sharing life-changing information with all of you because we need to stop our crazy ways here of eating plants. We're killing ourselves. We're all in danger. Dr. Barry's words. Yes, Dr. Kim Barry, who I responded to many times over the years for putting out anti-vegan misinformation. And this video is another great example of just that. Him and his anti-vegan guest, the anti-vegan author, Lierre Keith, who I've addressed a few times in my 10 plus years here on Happy Healthy Vegan, they joined forces, did a live stream explaining as to all the many reasons why us vegans are in danger. We're killing ourselves, we're destroying the planet. Let's just jump right in.
The thing is, though, in the 80s, we didn't have all those weird soy analog fake meat things yet. And in a way, that's really good because I think I would have ended up a lot worse off if I had been living on those, just because soy is so horrendous.
So Lierre just throws out tons of these extraordinary claims which require extraordinary evidence. So soy is horrendous on our health. Are you aware? I'm sure you are. You can't be that ignorant. Are you aware that people from my culture, Asian culture, have been eating soy for like hundreds or thousands of years and we're not all sick and dead from having eaten soy? What's your evidence?
Sure. You couldn't just buy weird junk food if you were going to be vegan back then. You really, like, they didn't have soy milk in containers.
Right.
Thank God. I mean, that would have killed me sooner, but...
Sooner than what? Like, you saying if you had continued your vegetarian ways in the 80s, you would have died somehow in the 80s or something like that? I mean, let's get serious here, though. I mean, if what you were saying here about soy were true, there should be some pretty strong evidence. If it's known fact that if you eat soy, you're dying, your lifespan gets decreased, or all-cause mortality goes up or something like that, that would be shown in the scientific research, and it's just not in there. You're just making stuff up. So next, this is awesome. My moderator, Peter, left a super chat tip for their live stream and asked them a very trolling yet very pertinent and revealing question.
If you can tell by Pete's question, do you think dog is a good source of protein? First of all, yes, dog is an excellent source of protein. It is a source of complete protein, all the amino acids.
All right, awesome trolling there. I can't believe your trolling worked. You got them to show the absurdity of their position here, which says, yeah, despite the immorality of killing dogs for food, let's ignore that because of the good part about that dogs are a complete source of protein. So we could flip that logic back on them. Like, despite the morality of killing humans for food, but cannibalism is totally cool and justified because human flesh is a complete source of protein. But this is all a moot point because plants are a complete source of protein. So according to their logic, you don't need to eat all these dead animals or dead humans. You just can eat plants if complete source of protein is such a big deal.
And many people consider it part of their cultural heritage to eat traditional dog dishes. And so you're actually making fun of 20 or 30 million people's culture right now.
Oh, I get it. So you're saying, despite the immorality of killing dogs for food, we should ignore that because in your assertion here, there are some cultures where dog eating is part of their cultural heritage, as you say. And let me just say this. I know what you're referring to, like there's the Yulin dog eating festival in China, and that speaks volumes because I'm Chinese. I grew up in a traditional Chinese family, and nowhere in our cultural heritage is dog eating a part of it. And I think it's telling that you're more concerned about offending some dog eating people because it's their cultural heritage than the immorality of killing dogs for food. It just shows you where your priorities lie.
I get where he's coming from. He wants to say, look, are you going to draw a line somewhere?
That's right.
Which animals are appropriate to eat and which animals aren't, and we're all going to make our different decisions. But I have to say that having gone through this whole kind of journey, that my point is I don't draw a line anymore at all.
Wow, Peter, you really got them to admit a lot here. So Lierre is saying she doesn't draw a line anymore at all, which means if there weren't any cultural taboos here in the United States or in the West against dog eating, she would eat dogs because, hey, it's a complete source of protein. She doesn't draw the line anywhere, but I'm sure she doesn't do it because I'm sure people give her a lot of shit for it, right? But she would do it though.
All of us depend on the deaths of other creatures. That is literally what life is. It's one creature eating another.
Okay, Lierre, explain this to me. If I go outside into the yard where there's an apple tree and there's a ripe apple that has fallen down on the ground, I pick it up and eat it, where is in this process one creature killing another to eat it? Just a tree. I didn't chop the apple tree down or anything like that. I just ate a ripened apple off the ground. This is just stupid stuff that meat eaters try to say to try to compare incorrectly plant eating with eating dead animals.
For something to live, something else has to die. And it doesn't really matter whether you call yourself a vegan or not. There are dead animals in every bite of food that you're eating, because that's what life is. Again,
I'm being as imaginative and creative as I possibly can, and I can't conceive of how a dead animal fits into that scenario I just painted there of going out into the yard and grabbing an apple off the ground.
There are dead animals in every bite of food that you're eating, because that's what life is.
So no, not all plant eating necessitates animals being killed, but I can't imagine any way that you can eat an animal without having to kill it and take its flesh off of it. I mean, it's just impossible, logically impossible.
All of the bacterial and fungal life, that's going to kill insects. So if you're eating nothing but wheat, rice, oats, and corn, you are literally eating
billions of insects,
of dead carcasses that had to die so that you could have your tofu.
Oh, really? Millions of dead carcasses for me, as a vegan, to eat my tofu. That's strange because vegans are only like 1-2% of the population, so we can't account for that much of tofu consumption. But humans taken as a whole account for a very small percent of soy consumption. 98% of soybean meal is used for animal feed, your livestock, not for us vegans. It says only 1% is used to produce food for people. And imagine if that's only 1% is used to produce food for people, what tiny fraction of a percent is actually turned into tofu for vegans?
I had to have manure from somewhere. And then the process of actually growing those plants for me to eat meant I was killing all kinds of other things. There was no way to have a garden without doing some death to some animals.
So let's assuming what she's saying is true, take her at her word for argument's sake here. What does any of that have to do with veganism? You're describing problems within the practice of farming, of agriculture. I know what you're trying to do here. You're trying to pull the stupid old combine harvester argument.
Some of these slugs are going to starve, right? There's no way that there's like no slugs here where I can just sort of plug the hole by adding more slugs. They're going to die.
Yes.
Like, you're fooling yourself if you think that this is not part of this.
If you're truly concerned about the fate of slugs, you're not describing veganism. I think you have veganism confused with the ahimsa concept from Jainism, the concept that one must not kill or harm any being, and nonviolence is the highest religious duty. This idea of an imperative of no harm or zero harm is not contained in veganism in any way, shape, or form. Don't believe me? Let's look at the time-tested definition of veganism that goes back to the 1940s from the Vegan Society, and as you see very clearly, it's a stance against animal cruelty and exploitation. Let me repeat, animal cruelty and exploitation. Nowhere in here does it say that if you accidentally harm an animal or a bug when you're pulling your kale out of the ground, that somehow veganism is null and void. We have to be perfect beings, or veganism as a concept is invalid. No, that's your interpretation as an anti-vegan, conflating some kind of Jainism with veganism.
But I started to have this thing where I would get shaky and weak and feel lightheaded and start to cry over nothing.
All right, so what in the hell were you eating back then? Like, were you under eating? I mean, this is not normal. I mean, maybe that happened to you, but please don't generalize that this is a normal thing. That's what you're doing. That's what a lot of anti-vegans do. They say, oh, this is what happened to me, and therefore that's normal. This is what will happen to you when you're vegan. Well, let me give you news, Lierre. I've been vegan since 2010. Same with Angie. We're both in our mid-50s. We don't have these crying, weak, whatever experiences like you're talking about. I mean,
and the compulsion was just, if you don't put food in your mouth, you're going to die. And I now know what was happening. Every time I ate, it was just sugar. You can call it complex carbohydrate if it makes you feel better, but I'm telling you, it breaks down to simple sugar. Very, very narrow range of blood sugar under which our brains can function. Too high or too low, you'll fall into a coma and you can die.
This is ridiculous. So the complex carbohydrates in plants put us at higher risk of getting in a coma and dying. I mean, once again, this is an extraordinary claim that requires extraordinary evidence that eating too many plants raises your risk of getting in a coma and dying. Well, I'll tell you, she has no evidence for this extraordinary claim. In fact, the scientific consensus is that a well-planned vegan diet is nutritionally adequate for all people in all stages of life. Again, these are position statements of organizations of health professionals who have reviewed the scientific research and have made these position statements. And nowhere in these position statements do they have a little asterisk or footnote saying, oh, yeah, it's nutritionally adequate, but you probably get into a coma and die, so watch out.
By the time I was really done with the whole vegan thing, it was like semi-constant grazing. Like every half an hour, 20 minutes, I just had to put some bite of something in my mouth to not feel like I was going to die.
Sounds like undereating to me. Again, I don't have that symptom that you're describing here. I know not what you're talking about, except for people who've made these why I'm no longer vegan videos, who often did these raw starvation diets where they ended up not getting enough calories and had problems because of that. And add further support to my hunch that she was undereating. Check this out. Sounds like she stopped having her menstruation cycle.
And what's not, and I can just tell you right off the bat, Lierre, any diet that makes you lose your menstrual period, that's not a proper human diet by definition.
And that is not a feature of vegan diets by any scientific analysis.
And in the vegan world, this is a good sign. There's a whole mythology about how, oh no, women aren't supposed to.
No, this is not a cool thing amongst vegans. What are you talking about? You're just making stuff up. However, it is known, again, that people who undereat lose their menstrual cycles. And I just showed this in a video recently. I'll show a little clip again of Harvard primatologists going over some research done on chronic undereaters, aka raw fruitarians, how they lose their menstrual cycles because they're not getting enough energy from their diets.
Every animal that we know of, other than humans, eats their food raw and they produce babies. What about humans? Here are the data from that German study. What we see is that as the amount of food eaten raw increases up to 100%, 50% of women by that point are amenorrheic. Their menstrual cycles have closed down altogether. This appears to be because they are short of energy.
Hey, I'm not a medical doctor or anything like that, but if you're feeling fatigued and hungry and crazy and crying, and on top of that, you lost your menstrual cycle, sounds like there's a pretty strong case to be made that you're probably doing something similar to the raw vegans. Maybe not eating a raw vegan diet, but still having the same commonality there of not getting enough calories. Just saying, Occam's razor tends to win.
As everybody can tell you who's been through this, the depression, anxiety, just the level of just psychic torment all the time.
Again, that's not a normal feature of eating a plant-based or vegan diet. Again, more evidence that you're not getting enough calories if your body and mind are both freaking out on you.
From not having any protein and not having any good animal fats, your brain just can't handle it. And so you're just sad and angry and depressed and suicidal all the time, and you don't know why.
Sad, angry, suicidal, and depressed all the time. Again, an extreme claim that demands some extreme evidence. And no, personal anecdotal story is not extreme evidence. You're just sharing your personal experience here and masquerading that as some kind of evidence that this is a normal feature of vegan diets, which it clearly is not.
So that was the first thing, was the eggs. And I did right away notice some very interesting things. 4 days eating eggs, I woke up and my skin was completely different. I went from that terrible gray pallor that, sorry, all the vegans have.
What? Did you say all vegans?
Terrible gray pallor that, sorry, all the vegans have.
Every last vegan. Do you realize how stupidly ignorant and racist you are? Like African American vegans, Latino, Asian vegans, we all have a gray pallor. You're saying vegans have this special property where we go out into the sun and are unable to have our skin darken from sun exposure? I mean, hey, it's winter here. I don't have the darkest tone of my life, but here I am a few years ago with a darker tone from running a lot. But no, that's impossible as a vegan, right? I look gray there.
And our role ultimately is apex predators. Our role is to keep the herds, the giant herds on the plains of Africa, tightly bunched, quickly moving, so that they don't destroy the grass. It's the role of lions, it's the role of wolves, it's the role of bear, and that's what we're supposed to do.
You got it, guys. Our role as human beings is to, whatever we're doing for our livelihoods and professions, stop that. We need to be out in the fields, the savannas of Africa, and manage herd population, because that's what we do. We're like lions and stuff like that. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I bet she's eating cows, pigs, and chickens, not herd animals from Africa. Can you cite me any archaeological evidence that shows that humans were actively, intentionally managing the grass or something like that? I'm not aware of that. I don't think she has that data either. Again, this is a pretty extraordinary claim, demands some pretty strong evidence. And even if that were true for humans 100,000 or 10,000 years ago, how does that have any relevance to us right now? We're not like subsistence hunters just trying to survive day to day. We have grocery stores, food supply chains. We live in cities, not savannas. I mean, these people too that she's describing probably had a lifespan of like 25, 30 years. I would like to do a little bit better than that myself. My mind is just boggled at this constant, steady stream coming from people like these two and Paul Saladino and Joe Rogan. And every week I'm responding to some persons out there putting out this misinformation about vegan diets, and it's so easy to disprove what they're saying. It doesn't really take all that much effort. Most of them are just making crap up. They make these extraordinary claims and have like jack crap to support these claims. It's just frustrating. Why are people doing this all the time? Why are all these people saying all this stuff against veganism? Are they on some kind of payroll of the meat industry? Are they grifters that profit off maybe supplements or something? I'm not speaking about these two in particular, just general. Why is there so much misinformation about vegan and plant-based diets? It's so easy to disprove what these people are saying. So please comment down below, because I don't understand why I have to keep making these response videos to these people who just don't have anything to support them beyond their own bullshit. So comment down below and let me know what's going on, what your ideas are. Hit like, subscribe, become a channel member, and remember, most important of all, doesn't suck being vegan.